there. You found your V-spot. My name is Vicky.
And I'm Velvet.
Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's been a bit of an evening. We're gonna get through this though.
We are going to get through it. Yeah, it's been a bit of we're struggling tonight.
I feel like this has been a struggling week. I mean, I had a great weekend.
Okay.
Actually, a really good weekend. We've had a lot of back and forth between us. Mm-hmm. We're in our heads.
We are in our
But we're
heads.
going to shake out. We're going to shake it out. We're good.
Let it go. Yeah, no, we did have a good weekend. I was with you for two of the events on the week. Make it sound like the galas.
The galas.
No, we went out with two different sets of friends. One it was couple night on Friday night, and Saturday night was the girls. And we haven't been together with this girl gang in a while.
It's been since I think almost November.
I was gonna say I think it was even before that, because I think Cammie didn't make it the one time. But it was. I love getting together with us. Like some of the funnest people in my life. I know. The belly laughers.
There's 4 of us, and we used to hang out a lot more than what we do now. Like we would go for weekends away, and it was just a lot more.
Yeah.
So much fun. I don't think I laugh harder with any group of people. There was points last night where I got dizzy. I wasn't getting air in because I was laughing so hard.
Do you think we're annoying to other people around us? You do? Yeah, but it's good. It's good noise. We're laughing. Yeah. It's not like we're screaming, saying stupid things. We're laughing.
And we aren't drinking and being obnoxious.
We're just it's just fun. It's just you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
I feel like there's zero judgment.
I don't feel
between the 4 of us. I feel like it's just a safe place, and nothing ever gets too deep. Even though we do talk about serious things moments too, but it's just it's the belly laughs, it's the crying, it's the good crying.
It's so good for the soul.
It is.
You don't even realize it.
Not many things, not many people make me belly laugh.
Yeah, I think that was a great way of ending our week of psychological torment.
Yeah, it was a lot.
There's just so much going on, and everything right now is new and figuring things out. And it's just been a huge learning curve for both of us. So we've had a lot of back and forth with oh my gosh,
why are we doing this?
How what have we gotten ourselves into?
Who do we think we are?
Totally. Yeah. And just I don't know. It'll be okay. We'll get through it. But
we needed that. I think we needed that last night to
reset
a little bit. Yeah, and it needs to happen more often for sure.
Yeah, it does happen.
It doesn't happen clearly. If it was November, it was the last time. That's not near enough.
Life gets away from you, and then it's laziness. Yeah, is what it is.
Totally. You're in your sweats. You're home. Yeah. Do you really? But last night was very Tara's hey.
Yeah, she initiated.
So then she initiated it. I stuck it on the group chat. I'm like, hey, doing this. Here we are.
Yeah, that was good.
It was good times. And everybody made it, which never happens on last minute. So Cammie was driving back from holidays and still made it. So that was so fun. Perfect. I was so happy everybody came. I came home and I was like, how was your night? I'm like, it was amazing. I don't say that very often. I'm like, it was so fun.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, besides that, I guess we can just dive into what we were going to do today. Yeah. I don't know if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, so I think we're just going to kind of talk about, we grew up in a very charismatic Christian church. It was Pentecostal. It was during the revival eras.
Got your tent preachers.
Yeah, lots of revival meetings and that type of thing. It was church all day. On Sundays, Wednesdays, when I say all day, I actually mean all day. You'd have a couple 3-4 hours off in the afternoon,
a little reprieve,
maybe take a nap or something, and then you're back at it again. And then and once we were old enough to go to youth, then we'd have youth on a certain night, and then we'd also have an activity on the weekend. So it was the majority of our time was spent in the church, and we went to the school there for a little while as well.
Yep, we had youth group. We had our Wednesday night thing. As we got older, there was the 20s and 30s groups. Right. Both of us have been immersed in that world so much. It was our lives, our friends, everything. Fast forward to today.
Also, though, we married guys who did not grow up that way.
Yeah.
We both married guys who didn't grow up in a well, my husband didn't grow up in a church at all.
Yeah, Ryan
until 18. So
Ryan did, but not
the same type
of church. Yeah,
exactly.
So fast forward today, I still go. You don't.
I don't.
So I thought that'd be interesting to kind of dive into why you don't.
Yeah.
What led to that decision? Why I still do.
Totally.
Right.
I don't even know if I know why you still do. So that's interesting for me too.
Yeah, because our like yours and my experiences have almost been identical.
Yeah.
Resulting in you no longer going and me going.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to know kind of what led to that. Because you stopped going when Ashton was
born. Pretty much. He was born like 5 weeks early, had some issues. We didn't know if he was gonna make it or not. A little bit of a traumatic start. And I feel like kids that have a rough start just end up kind of being rough babies sometimes. Yeah. I don't know. They're mad at the world. I don't know. He's a good kid now, but like he was hard. So I couldn't put him in the nursery. He was very like colicky. So sitting through the church service was never a thing. I'd get a couple like 20 minutes out of it. Then I'm going to be back in the lobby just holding him or nursing him or whatever.
Yeah.
I was never in the service. The girls were really young, so they'd go to Sunday school and that was fine. And then we decided, I'll just be very honest.
Yeah, please.
It was a lot of the people there were just not our people.
Yeah.
And there are some people that are definitely our people as well. Like there's a lot of people we love. My whole family still goes to that church, and we have friends that you guys still go, right? But there was just not enough of those people. And some of the people that were there was just enough to make us be like, you know what? This isn't our place.
It wasn't your community.
Right. Yeah. So we tried a different church. And then again, it was just, so now we're in a new church. Now my girls are uncomfortable because they don't know any of the kids. Ashton's still high maintenance. So it just honestly.
It's even harder.
So it just ended up being, this is a shit show. Like literally, let's just stay home. And then from there, it went very much activities. Like as the kids got a bit older, right? So Brooklyn was a competitive dancer. So many of our weekends were taken up by that. And just kids' sports were on the weekends. McKenna was a rep soccer player. Ashton played football for a long time. So that's what ended up taking over. And I think getting out of the habit of going to church. But ultimately, we just never found we've tried some other churches too. We just never found a church home. And we're okay with that. Kyle, maybe I'm speaking on behalf of him a little bit. He doesn't really believe in church as like an establishment type thing, right? Yeah. It's just not his thing. So, and the more he talked about it and his reasons for it and stuff, I was like, you know what? I agree. And honestly, hearing a lot of the stuff that you tell me, like, I feel like we made the right decision in that. It doesn't take away from my faith. It doesn't take away from any of that. But I know it's disappointing to my parents for sure. I think it's probably disappointing to my sister as well that we're not there, because my uncle was the pastor of the church for a long time. He still attends there. And so I think because just if my background alone, it's almost expected that I'd still be there. That's the main part of it, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of things. Well, I'll dive into that first. First of all, you let us know why did you stay? Yeah, why do you go?
I was never at any point, I've never been tempted to not go. So it's never been a thing with me where I've been like, oh, I wish we didn't go, or I wish I didn't. Of course, there's Sundays where I don't want to go and I don't.
Right.
Yeah, but it's never really been one of those things where I've been like, oh, I wish I didn't go to church. Like, I just do this. I genuinely want to go. I think a lot of that has to do with, I am a creature of habit. I've done it my whole life, and it would feel extremely unnerving not to go.
And I understand that too, because it was for me. I felt like I was spiraling to some degree, but not in my personal life. I just felt, no, not spiraling. I felt guilt.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's what it was. Sorry, I wasn't spiraling. In my head, I felt like I was spiraling, I think, a little bit, because I was like going between like, I'm supposed to be here, but I'm not there, but I'm supposed to be there, but like that whole thing. But just there was so much. There's just a lot of guilt attached to a lot of things that have to do with church, unfortunately.
There's been seasons of our like my church life where I've gotten nothing out of it, where I'm like, I don't know why I do this. This is a waste of my time. And there's been times where I'm like, okay, this is good for me right now. I'm enjoying being here. I'm getting something out of it. I'm learning. The thing about it is that it comes down to, I don't know how I could not.
Right.
It's so ingrained in how I grew up, who I am as a person. It would feel so odd
not to go.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a reason to do anything.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Like, is that the correct answer? Probably not.
No.
The correct answer is probably because you want to worship with a community of fellow believers. Right. It's not that for me. Right. It's I don't know how not to go.
Is it because you like habit too? Like, does it like start your week type thing or finish your week? However you look at a Sunday?
Yeah, I like routine for sure. I think when you do something the same day, same thing the same day, your entire life, you don't even really consider not doing it.
Right.
I also don't want to like miss out either. Like I feel like sometimes I think like people say things like, is the church relevant still? Mm-hmm. Or is like, you know, what's the church offering Christians now? Or it's so archaic. Or I'm like, but what if I don't want to miss out? What if something happens? What do
you mean by that though? What are you missing out on, or what's happening?
Like, you hear about things like revival happening.
Okay, so you mean spiritually?
Yeah.
Okay, I think you meant like not with other groups of people.
No,
okay,
don't care about that.
Spiritually.
I could go, and I do most Sundays, show up, don't talk to a single soul, and go home. It's got nothing to do. It's not a social thing for me.
Thing for you.
Not for me. No. But when it comes to like I still feel like I need to be, my spiritual life needs to be fed, and I don't know any other way of feeding it. Okay. So if I don't go, and I feel like I'm going to like be missing out on potential to be spiritually fed.
Okay. So do you not feel like you could be fed by like a podcast or like a preacher, like that type of thing? Like, or do you feel like you physically have to go somewhere?
I can watch online, but it's not quite the same for me. Okay. I realized before, like, I love ritual. Like, I love like when I watch, like, I'm not Catholic, but when I watch like their rituals they do, and they're
Jewish people,
the Jewish, like,
the culture, it's
love
culture
it
too,
yeah.
right? Like, it's not just religion, it's very much cultural. Yeah, I
love that. Like, I love the old, like, even like the churches that have like the readings and like the traditions, and I just find comfort in that.
Right.
It's like a familiar thing for me, and I just love it. I want that. I don't want to,
and that's great. Like I love that you love it, and I love that you still go. I think that's great.
It's not a perfect.
No.
It's not a perfect system right now, for sure. And I don't know if it's I mean, it's different from when we grew up. I kind of think that we at one point in our lives put what we grew up in on a pedestal. I don't know if you did.
For sure.
And then you kind of like, oh no, that was actually kind of.
So that's what brings us also to like my life today, is that there's been a lot of questioning things because we were born into it. There was no questioning it. It's all we knew. It's interesting because sometimes I even think it felt cult-like in some aspects, which I do think it was. Like, there's certain movements of Pentecostalism were actually a little cultish. And it's interesting now looking back and trying to figure out, what do I actually believe and what was just revival or just, emotion, or so it's been interesting for me just to look at everything. And again, I think it's been hard for my mom too. Like, she doesn't ever want you to question where you came from or like any of that stuff. So I think it's hard for my family, for me not to be as intertwined as they are in the church now. But I look at things so differently than I was brought up. There's a lot of fundamental things that I don't necessarily not believe, but believe. Yeah. There's just certain things that I'm just like, no. And I think a lot of times people that are born into something that don't have a choice in it have to go through this part in their life, because otherwise
it's
essential.
Completely essential.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if somebody who grew up with it and was so immersed in it didn't question it. I'd be like, you need to question it. You need to like decide for yourself.
Well, it's very interesting because there's quite a few people that we still know that were brought up the exact same way as us, and not many of them are still going to church because, and I often feel that's because it wasn't a choice. And so as soon as it became a choice,
they're like, nope.
Yeah, no, thank you. Because they were told to do it. It wasn't like, even Christianity for me and Kyle was very different because he chose to be a Christian when he was 18.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, I chose to be a Christian too, but it was not an option, if that makes any sense.
Because you're scared not to.
That's right.
I was saying to somebody who told me they became a Christian and they were in their, I think, early 20s. And they were describing that all to me and telling me how it happened. And I said to them, I'm so jealous of that experience. Like, I would love to have the experience of not having a spiritual life or believing in anything, and then suddenly
something just coming upon
something,
you,
having a revelation about something, and like thinking that is what I feel is true to me, and embracing it and diving into it and learning about it. And I'm so jealous of that.
It was, I mean, it wasn't taken away from us, but in a sense that part was taken away from us.
It's just not what we,
because even people that I know now that was raised in a church the same way, it was just a different denomination. Yeah. A lot of them still go to church, I find.
A lot of them don't too, but...
Yeah, but of the people that I know, though, a lot of those different denominations, a lot of them still will just, they still go. It was just different. I felt like ours, there was some spiritual abuse involved in our upbringing, right? So I think it's harder for people to recover from that and to get over that and put that aside and actually focus on what actually is why you're there.
So what do you, like, how would you define spiritual abuse in your own mind? I can look up the actual definition. I'm just curious, when you say spiritual abuse, like, kind of where's your head at with that?
I think even the simple thing of being forced to do anything is abuse. Being forced to pray in front of people. Like that, that's and not comfortable. Exactly. No. Being forced to raise your hands, like that type of thing. Yeah. Just, it was a lot of pressure, a lot of being forced to, there was a lot of reason, like even communion, let's say we do it, is it the third Sunday of every month?
Yeah, something like that.
And we have like the traditional, like pass it around to everybody. We didn't go up to the front, so you pass around the water or the bread and the juice. And, there was the whole fear that like my parents are now watching me. Yeah. First of all, there was an age that we were even allowed to start partaking in it. Like you had to be ready to take communion before, like some 7-year-old wasn't allowed to just grab the juice. And if I saw another 7-year-old doing it, I was judging that 7-year-old. I'm like, you're not parented very well. Why are you taking that? But when it actually came time to doing it, there was always like that fight in my head. Like, should I be taking this? Like,
because they read that scripture, like, you know, you're drinking damnation onto yourself if you take it and you're not in a good place with other people or a good place.
So then there's that pressure of, are people watching me not take it because I don't feel like I should be taking it? Or should I not be taking it because I shouldn't be taking it? But I'm going to take it because I feel like my parents are watching me or my friends are watching me. And then they're going to question me, why isn't she taking it? Right? So I feel like there's just, that's what I think spiritual in my some of it anyway. I think that was very, or being forced to go to things that I didn't necessarily want to go to.
That intensified like what I would consider actual like textbook spiritual abuse for me. That started with kind of in late teens, when that like there was kind of a wave of people thinking that they were like demon possessed, or like other people were demon possessed, and there was someone that came in that like was really into that, and there was
we had a youth pastor that was on that. It was the Toronto
Blessing Airport
Blessing movement or something like that. Just kind of like in the mid to late 90s, a whole other like revival thing kind of came out again.
Yeah. See, up until that point, there was insane pressure to perform, like, because there was a lot of focus on like, like physical, emotional reactions to things, right? So like if you're raising your hands, or I felt as a kid that's just not who I am as a person,
right?
So I just never quite felt like I belonged in that scenario.
Absolutely.
So there's always kind of like, I'm a little bit different, I don't quite fit in with all of this, it feels weird to me.
But it wasn't a not fitting in thing in my head at that point, because I felt the same way, but that's not how I looked at it. I looked at it as what's wrong with me.
Oh,
not how I not fitting in. It's why am I not
You're
like
not
everybody
right
else?
with God.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really, I think it came down to personality. It just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, no, it wasn't my thing either.
And nor it shouldn't have to have been my thing, right? Like a religious experience or your Christianity should be a thing between you and God, and that's it. Like, it should not matter.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be pressure to do anything else from anybody else, right? And there was just so much pressure.
I think that's part of the problem in raising kids in a environment that's charismatic, is that it isn't going to fit. Like Baptist church is going to fit most personalities, in the sense you're not going to be uncomfortable.
Right.
You're going to be there, whatever. Whereas any kind of church that's more charismatic, it's gonna not quite fit everybody's personality.
You'd be embarrassed sometimes to bring kids to church.
A lot of times.
Okay.
So yeah, like if you're not that personality, you're not going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Like even like at youth group events, like you said, like being asked to pray out loud. I hated praying out loud. I didn't know what to say.
I can't pray out loud.
To this day, I felt stupid. Not knowing what to say made me feel like I wasn't a good Christian. So much just shame involved in that. It was awful. Like, no one should ever be forced to pray out loud. Like, it's a bizarre concept, really. But
we were.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it was a bit of spiritual abuse.
We were assigned. Yeah, it's hard for me to, things like that, like, I guess that's how everybody feels when you're in a scenario that was your normal. You're like, oh, okay, was it really, like, you kind of, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want my kids to be forced to do certain things. So
before we started the podcast, I had a talk with my mom, because I just wanted to be open and honest and tell her everything that I was going to be talking about, because everything is my experience, and I think that it's my story. I should be able to say that, but I didn't want her to ever feel any guilt, or because that's not what it is for me, even a little bit. I'm happy with the way I was raised. Like, I am. I think there was things that were not right, but overall, like, I turned out a good human, I feel. Yeah. So, but it came to more like you were saying, when that youth pastor came, and there's a lot of things to do with the spiritual world then. Like, we're casting out demons tonight, and if you're not right with God, don't be here, because they can hop into you. Well, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. Like, so I would go to youth, but not actually go in. I'd drive to youth, I'd sit in the parking lot, and then I'd go home. And my mom actually said to me, well, why didn't you just tell me you didn't want to go? And I was like, because Mom, back then, that was not an option. And she's like, well, did I know that was happening there? I'm like, yeah. And it just wasn't an option. It was just, you did it. And I actually hate the fact that I was forced to be put in that position with anything, because one of my earliest memories at church is having someone on the ground, demon possessed, foaming at the mouth, and me waking up and seeing them looking at me because I was asleep on the ground. I am terrified of everything, like, supernatural.
Yeah, so am I.
Like, terrified. So it didn't do me any good. Like, no. I don't know how people aren't, I don't know how everybody that didn't grow up like that isn't terrified. I really don't.
No, I don't know either. I don't know.
Like, I can't do anything creepy. Like, don't take me to a haunted house, and not everything just because it's creepy or scary means it's
no.
Like, everything, even like Halloween-ish or evil, it's okay. Like, you can go through a haunted house. You're fine. Like, it's okay. It's not means, it doesn't change your Christianity. It doesn't, like, there were so many things that were so taboo.
Yeah.
That I felt like if I did any of it,
you're becoming demon possessed for sure.
100%.
Or oppressed.
Something.
The whole satanic panic went on during that time. So thank goodness my parents were reasonable human beings for the most part. They didn't take that to an extreme. But still, you heard about it. Like, every show on TV was demonic, or they're just looking for it everywhere and everything.
Every single thing. Like, literally every single thing.
All music was...
anything magic. Anything. Yeah. Like, it was so much. It was just so much. And I don't think they were given the tools either as our parents to navigate that type of environment, because they didn't come from that necessarily. Like that whole revival, they were part of it when they were adults as opposed to being young in it, right? So I don't know if they just didn't know how to navigate, and that's why everything was taken as word. Like, and I said this to I'm talking about my mom a lot today, but I said this to my mom too. I'm like, you just believed.
Yeah.
And there's something about that. There's something in that innocence and that I appreciate as well. But at the same time, like, you got to question stuff. Like, just because someone is saying it because they're standing in front of you does not mean it's necessarily the right thing.
Yeah, I've been having conversations with my mom too, more about things, and I don't think I realized how much they did use discernment with things, and how much like they pushed back against certain concepts, and I didn't realize that. I think I just thought, oh, they just thought it was all great, and
I think my house was more liberal than your house.
Liberal means,
I feel like
liberal means you mean conservative or liberal?
I mean liberal in the way of in Christianity. Liberal Christianity.
Oh,
like,
I see.
It was very. Whereas your parents were more
I was allowed to go
you're allowed to watch the
trick-or-treating.
Smurfs and go trick-or-treating, stuff like that. Like, I just feel like mine was very, maybe that wasn't the right word to use.
No, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
though.
like.
Yeah, you were, maybe it is conservative. I don't know. Maybe letting us go trick-or-treating is liberal thinking.
Right.
I guess it depends on how you're looking at it.
Which is not, but.
Yeah, my parents were for sure more lenient with certain things, and
because Halloween doesn't have to be about evil.
We weren't allowed to dress up in like
evil costumes,
creepy Halloween costumes, but like
you're the kid. You're 4. You're going to get candy from a door. Like, why wouldn't you let your kid just experience that? I'm sorry, you're not celebrating the Devil's Night. I'm sorry, you're just not.
No, you're not.
You're not.
You don't care that it's a Devil's Night.
No,
it means
just everybody's walking
you.
around getting candy, and as a kid, you want to be a part of that, and I was not.
My mom handed out tracts and candy. Right. She was always cool enough to still hand out candy.
Right. Yeah. But no, our lights were off, and we were at a church function, guaranteed. Like, there was the alternative to Halloween, but I'm like, is it really an alternative? We're still doing something on Halloween. You're still celebrating technically, right?
Yeah. It was a Halloween alternative,
but not just because you're calling it something else doesn't make it something different.
You're celebrating the night.
Exactly.
It's like the Christian twist on Satan's Day.
Family fun night.
Family fun night. But remember, they'd play that terrifying movie in the haunted. Remember, it was a movie with those kids who stumble upon the haunted house, and they were like roller skating through it at one point. Do you remember this movie?
No.
Oh my gosh, I am the only living person on planet Earth who remembers this movie.
Maybe it's a false memory, Vic.
It's not. They used to play it every so often, and it was like this 80s. I don't even know if it was a Christian movie or if it was, I don't know what movie this was.
Where were they playing it?
In the sanctuary.
Oh.
And we'd all sit there and watch it, and it was so scary to me as a kid. Like, I'd end up in the foyer.
Was it Left Behind?
No, it was just these kids in the woods that stumble upon this like this spooky house with like spooky things in it. I don't know if it was actually spooky, but 4-year-old me, it was spooky.
Yeah.
It scared me, and I always end up in the foyer. And I thought I had a memory of you being in the foyer with me.
I was always in the foyer. I was always scared of everything. I was always like, if I was allowed to go in the foyer.
Yeah.
You're allowed in the foyer more in the summer because it was hot.
I know.
There was no air conditioning, so you could go peace out because you're too hot. On a sunny night, not during the day. Or was there air conditioning in it? No, there must not have been. There was no air conditioning. There's no way because it used to get hot.
I remember we had our fan.
Yeah.
We'd make fans out of paper. Remember?
Yeah. It was so hot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm very, very grateful. My parents did encourage me to kind of be a little bit more of a free thinker.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean,
but you still look at this. You were a free thinker, and you're still.
But being a free thinker also caused me problems because I didn't, like I said, I didn't feel like everybody else.
Yeah.
Like when everybody was going to the altar, I didn't like to go to the altar. I didn't want to be up there. I felt self-conscious. I felt uncomfortable. I don't want to be seen. I just want to
go in, get what you need from church, and leave.
Yeah. I just always I don't know. I just didn't feel like that was my thing, which then again makes me feel like, am I not seeking God? Am I not thirsty for like, the Holy Spirit? Or
you're feeling shame.
Yeah. So I kind of wish that I would have had an experience where my more intellectual thinking side was encouraged.
You're a kid too. That intellectual, like that took over eventually, your intellectual side, but
I went for so many years feeling like I was kind of a little bit hardened. Like I didn't like this, or I loved like youth conventions, and I did get into things. Like I got like hyped into things, and
I loved youth conventions, the day sessions. I didn't like the night sessions because that's when there was more pressure to be at the altar or that type of thing, right? So there's often I was just like,
there was no choice but to go to the front.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if the entire youth group went to the front and you were the lone,
just sitting there?
You would be the freaking talk of the youth group. Like if Velvet didn't come to the front,
what's wrong with her?
She's going through something right now. She's not right with God.
Yeah.
That is unrealistic. That's not fair.
Because 99% of the people that are standing up there should not be standing up there either, but they're just going along with it because it's what we did.
Yeah. It was such an unusual way to be raised, really.
Yeah.
It's very unique to, and some people come out of that thinking it was, what's the big deal?
I wonder, like, even looking back for our parents, maybe just because they were older when they went through it, they saw the logic through it. Whereas just for us, we just didn't, right? We just saw what we saw.
And we're experiencing it through child's eyes and a child's perspective. So the things just felt intimidating or, a little scary. Our parents wouldn't have seen it that way.
Right.
They also, though, weren't in our Sunday school. Like, I remember we had this whole, I would have been like maybe in my tween years, so maybe 10, 11. And we had a whole series on the end times.
I was going to say Revelation, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that's scary.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they think, because it's in the Bible, it's not scary. Right. That's scary for a 10-year-old.
Revelations is a scary book of the Bible. It just is. There's so many like metaphors in it and stuff, and very like it's very harsh. So, and I was terrified of having to live having to live through the tribulation, or accidentally taking the mark of the beast. Right. Accidentally taking it.
Like how do you know? Like, what if I accidentally take it? Because these are child fears. Like
stamp at the fair. Oh, it actually was the mark of the beast.
Yeah, but as a kid,
I know.
Like you don't. That could happen. Very, very. Oh, and then what are you going to do?
You're going straight to hell. Is what you're going to do.
You're in with the beast. It was so scary.
It was scary.
And of course, parents wouldn't see it that way.
No.
They would just think they were getting a really good, solid Christian education.
But would you, as a parent, not see it that way for your child?
It was a different time, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, we are 100% going to have our kids tell us things that we didn't see or it didn't occur to us that they experienced, or I'm almost positive of it.
I don't know. I think I'm pretty good at parenting.
I don't even think it's a bad parenting thing. I just don't think that they either thought about it. It was just the way of the times. It was just, what everyone did. Even like we had the bus program. There was so many families, and there's 4 big school buses that our church had, and they went around town picking up kids. Yeah. And their kids just came to Sunday school, and after Sunday school they went home.
Dropped off again. Yeah.
Like Sunday school was a huge, huge deal. Like I don't think that anybody would even think twice about what was being said there. And it was, the most part, fine. And just some of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was spooky.
It's even just thinking now, like there are predators in the church that we knew about at the time. And even knowing that as a child, and the fact that they were still there, like now as a parent, what? Why wasn't that taken care of? Like, we ain't praying that out of him. Like, that needs to be taken care of. So there was talk. I knew
everyone
who those
knew
to stay away from.
Yep.
Because they were possibly a toucher.
Yeah.
That to me is a form of abuse too.
Yeah.
It is.
It's nuts.
Like making kids be around people that they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
When you know that they shouldn't be.
The one guy everyone had stories about. I remember once with a bunch of people like being in the back of his truck and him taking us home. And for some reason, we just all kind of threw that knowledge about him out of our mind.
But us maybe, but why was that not in the forefront of our parents' mind?
I don't think that our parents, like, I don't think my parents knew that he took me home or whatever. Like, I don't think that was something that they were aware of.
I know who's bringing my kids home still.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot different. That's a lot different now.
I know. And they're driving on their own. I still know who they're with.
It's a lot different now.
Is it?
Yeah, clearly.
Well, I know, but is that us or is that?
No. I think
I'm saying, was it like just our church community that we just were trusting, or was that like everybody was trusting?
Well, our church community for sure was very trusting.
But how idiotic is that to just assume, oh, they're just part of the church, they won't do it again or whatever? It blows my mind.
If the pastor was dealing with it, then it was being dealt with. There was trust in that. It was being dealt with.
No.
It was fine.
It's idiotic.
It wasn't fine.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think anytime.
I just got mad.
Yeah. And she's fired up.
Now I'm mad.
Yeah. But all of that being said, I still wouldn't change a single thing. And I don't know why I'm saying that. Like I wouldn't have wanted to go to any other church. I wouldn't have wanted to not.
That's because you have fond memories as well.
I do.
Yeah.
I ultimately.
The good is outweighs the bad in all of it. Wow.
I think so. It made me who I am today. Like, it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting way of being raised, especially the Christian school thing. Like that church community was
everything,
our entire world.
Yeah.
Which kind of lends itself to a cult-like experience. I'm not saying we could escape. It's not like it was an actual cult, but it still is reminiscent of that because that was all we knew.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like I walked into public school not knowing anything about like
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, total trust in your leader. And by leader, I mean like the pastor. Like obviously they answer to someone else too, but
yeah,
just a lot, I feel, just blindly believing.
You didn't question it or anything.
Yeah.
I think that's important for people like today when you're raising kids in any kind of like, this goes for all faith systems. I think it's so important to encourage kids to ask questions, challenge things, research things for themselves. And just because they're asking questions or challenging doesn't mean that they
are dicks.
Yeah. Or even like, I think a lot of like how it was when we were kids, there was a fear of, oh my gosh, they're not going to believe what I believe. They're going to backslide. They're like questioning or having doubts is an automatic, oh, they're backsliding.
Right.
And that is part of the process.
It's part of being human. I don't think you're doing a disservice to yourself if you're not questioning things, I think.
How do you know what you believe unless you question it? And we've been forced to kind of do it backwards.
Right.
Which has been difficult, I would say.
Yeah.
Because you go back and you replay everything and you're like, okay, well, what about this? What about this?
Yeah. And your logical adult brain is like, what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's good for kids kids should be encouraged to kind of explore themselves.
Totally. And there's a way to question things without being a jerk, right?
So I think that they can be jerks. I think you can question things and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like if you really are pushing back against something, that's all right. Like,
because again, ultimately, it's your decision. You can raise your kid however you want and put whatever thoughts in their heads or whatever, indoctrinate them with whatever religions. At the end of the day, they grow up and it's 100% their decision. So
I think parents felt, especially back then, they felt as if their kids didn't continue on in their belief system, they were failures as parents. I don't think that our generation has that as much.
Right.
Like if my kids weren't, church goers or Christians, I wouldn't feel like a failure as a parent.
Yeah.
Whereas I think my parents probably would have felt like.
I think my parents do.
Oh, really?
I think a little bit.
So they feel like failures because you just don't go to church.
I mean, they've never expressed that.
Yeah.
I just get a vibe, right? Like it's
embarrassing.
But at the same time, maybe that's just in my own head because that's how others would have been looked at back in the day that weren't going to church, right? So maybe that's just part of my process. But I always feel like we get we'd love to see you, those types of things. We'd love to see you at church, like that stuff. So I'm like,
yeah, a lot of my thinking is a very different than the status quo. I have my own opinions about a lot of things, and 10 years ago I would have felt apologetic for it, and now I'm like, oh, whatever.
Perspective comes with age.
Yep, I have my own feelings, and when my kids have different opinions, I'm very open to hearing them, and it doesn't scare me, or it's just a different way of bringing up my kids and what I was brought up. But
because again, it's their journey too.
And you want your kids to make their own decision because they've made it, because
of look where we are now, because now we're questioning it now. I'd rather them question it at an earlier age and stay steadfast as they grow older, as opposed to all of a sudden hitting your 40s and going, oh my gosh, what the heck was that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, our upbringing was a bit more extreme than others. It was different for sure. We have stories.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was that.
That was that, I guess, for now.
So should we introduce a new thing that we're gonna do every once in a while, or
the hot topic
bowl of fun?
So the whole premise with the bowl is we don't know what's in there. Our help, I don't know what else to call him,
Kyle,
our manager, has filled the bowl with current, hopefully, topics that we kind of know something about, because it's going to suck if we get a topic that we don't know anything about,
like audio video equipment.
Yeah, but he says it's current topics about what's going on in the world today. Hot topics. So we're thinking at the end of each podcast, we're going to pull one and then just have opinions on it. Yeah. See where it goes.
Close it out that way.
Yeah. So
my cute little bowl, TLC pottery.
Do you want me to pull?
I love it. I love my bowl. We're using it as our topic bowl.
Today's hot topic is Ozempic.
Oh, that's a good topic. I'm surprised he even knows what that is.
It's not all over TikTok right now.
I still am surprised. He probably doesn't even know what it is. He probably just saw the word and wrote it down. But I'll take it. That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so for those who don't know, Ozempic is a drug that's typically used for diabetics. And I think it's like a insulin level control drug.
Yeah.
But they discovered that it causes weight loss. So the big thing right now is there's a ton of celebrities using it to get super, super skinny. And that's causing the discussion. Like I after the Oscars, that people were making fun of like all the women with Ozempic face. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
We know one person who,
we have a friend who takes it.
Yeah, who and it's worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not really sure why it's a controversial topic, to be honest with you. Like,
because it's a drug not made for that purpose. It's like misusing a drug in some people's opinion.
Oh,
like it's
really?
It's meant for this, but now we're doing it to lose weight, which really just has dual purposes, in my opinion.
There's lots of drugs that do more than one thing.
Sure. And this, I think most people that take it definitely lose a significant amount of weight. Whereas some things like
it's an injectable drug. You
have to inject yourself every day. Yeah. Certain like antidepressant medicines and stuff will help you lose weight too. Like it's just a side effect of it, but not everybody. Whereas I feel like Ozempic, like the majority of people that take it lose a significant amount of weight. Yeah.
It's super expensive, which is why celebrities kind of more have their hands on it.
What was she saying when we talked to her? It was
I don't know what
$500 a month, I think she said.
Yeah, $500 a month, which is astronomically expensive for a drug that you're choosing to take.
That's right.
Like,
because it's not covered by
Not if it's for that reason. I think if you have diabetes,
well, yes,
it would be covered.
Probably, yeah. Or discounted even.
I personally, I mean, to be honest, I don't really care if celebrities want to use it to lose 20 pounds.
But let's not talk about celebrities.
Oh, so
we're talking about
people?
like real life people.
Oh, zero issue whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think the health benefits of using something like that, it's better than surgery. Like if people feel like they have to lose weight and they're considering like gastric bypass, I have nothing against gastric bypass, it works. But if you have the option, why would you not take?
The main thing with it for me is that if you're doing it and just taking the shot and not correcting your lifestyle and your eating habits, the minute you're off it, you gain it comes back. So yes, it'll help you lose the weight, but you have to adjust your lifestyle still in order for it to work, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are using it.
It's a quick fix.
That's right. And I think that's bad for your system to go up and down in weight a lot, right? I think that's hard on your system too. But I don't know that it's fair that it's only available to some people.
Is it only available? I think your doctor would prescribe it to anybody if they wanted it.
I don't think so.
It depends on the doctor.
I don't think so.
There's a shortage of it right now. Or there was for a while.
But I think that's because there's a lot of overweight people too that are all using it.
Off label or whatever.
But like, why can't a girl that just wants to lose 10 pounds use it?
I don't know. I don't know.
I can almost guarantee you, unless you're a celebrity and getting it from someone like a doctor who just will write you a prescription. Care. I don't think they're giving it to just everybody. And that's what I know that's maybe stupid, but that's what I don't like. Like if I have an event coming up and I want to lose a quick 10 that I have to lose in like 3 months.
I think it comes down to, is this for a health reason? Yes or no. So if you're prescribing it for weight loss, you're still prescribing it for a health reason. You're not prescribing it for a vanity reason. And that's where the line is for me.
But most people are not doing it for health reasons. They're doing it for vanity reasons. But when it comes down to weight loss.
But when it comes down to the paperwork for that doctor, they can say, this is the patient's weight. This is how much weight they need to use. They're in this category of BMI, whatever. Recommend Ozempic for quick, successful weight loss to get it into a healthy range.
I just think it should be available for everybody. I do.
Gain like 50 pounds so then you can like at least
take her off. Like why not? Like so if I gained 50 pounds, then would I be allowed to go on it?
Not all doctors will prescribe it, by the way.
I feel like a lot do.
I think a lot do, but not all will. Like you have to actually like ask your doctor to see if they're willing, because not all will.
Right. But there's always one doctor that you'll find that. Mind you, around here it's hard to even find a doctor to go to. But
you can't just like walk it. I don't think you can just like walk into any office and be like, my doctor won't prescribe me Ozempic, will you?
You can with some doctors. Some doctors are just like super liberal. They're like, sure, if you want to try it, go for it. Like, why not? Mm-hmm. Whereas others will make you go through like steps first and prove why you need it, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
But
I don't really have passionate. I think it's kind of funny, the people making fun of like Ozempic face and stuff. That kind of cracks me up a little bit.
I say giddy up. Unless, I don't know, I haven't looked into it, so I don't know if there's long-term damage that's possible from taking it, but people that have diabetes are taking it, so it can't be like horrible unless it's just supposed to like help with diabetes, and if you don't have diabetes, maybe then it's doing something to you. I don't know. I don't know anything.
I guess we'll find out.
But I say thumbs up to Ozempic.
The trouble with that though too is that if these celebrities are reaching unrealistic small weights and they're setting themselves up as standards.
I also don't like the fact that they're probably not going to admit that it is. And so they're like, look at me. I've got my personal trainer. Check me out. No, you took your shot.
At least own it.
Exactly. I don't care if you take it, but tell us you're taking it.
Yeah, the same goes for me with like things like plastic surgery. Like, don't act as if you're a natural beauty. You've had, just be honest.
There's no shame in it. Get it done. Like, who cares? You want to adjust something on your face? Whatever. That's your prerogative. So why are we... There's no shame.
No, there is no shame.
Plastic surgery is okay. And Ozempic is okay, in my opinion.
I think, I vote yes for Ozempic.
I also vote yes. We'll vote for things from the hot topic.
I vote yes to Ozempic.
I also vote yes to Ozempic, but for everybody. Ozempic for everyone.
No, I don't vote yes to Ozempic for everybody.
Oh, well.
Whatever. We'll agree to disagree on that one.
Whatever, Vicky.
All right. Well, that's that for today.
That's that.
What
about checking on in? We're on the V-Spot pod on most
most
social media outlets. Any concerns or comments?
Concerns.
Do you have concerns with it? I have concerns for us, so maybe other people do too. But no, reach out. We love to hear from you. Give us ideas. Talk about if you have something you want to be a guest, maybe, or have someone.
Everybody wants to be a guest.
Everybody does want to be a guest. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Is that because they just want to be on a podcast?
We'll bring all the people on. I probably want to be on a podcast.
Do you think? Or do you think they
just want to talk to
us? Let's go with that.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, they just want to hang out with us.
Yeah. You can be a guest, sure.
Fun. The fun V-Spot girls.
All right, guys. We'll talk later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.